Grade 7s, and welcome to your mathematics lesson on this Monday morning, brought to you by WorksheetCloud.com. I hope you guys are well and had a good rest over the weekend, and I hope you're ready to continue working on your academics and studies this week. Just a reminder of the email address on your screen, grade7@worksheetcloud.com. Please feel free to use it to send me any queries relating to today's work, previous work, or perhaps there's something I haven't covered yet that you would like a bit of clarification on. On WorksheetCloud.com you have access to all previous lessons as well as activities and memos. So I encourage you to have a look at those things and use them as you need to. Right, so today our main theme is decimals. And the four operations, so looking at adding, subtracting, multiplying and dividing decimals. And then on either side of that, I've put in some challenges and some games for you guys to sink your teeth into. So today's warm-up activity, you need to tell me the value of each symbol, and I'm sure you guys are going to be able to name the symbols as well. Work through that, try to do it by yourself. Check your answers and then hit play to see if you guys have worked it out correctly. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that. So where am I going to start? I'm going to start on the second last line. Okay, 3 will be equal to 21 divided by 7. Okay, so Wonder Woman is 7. We know that Groot and Spider-Man are equal from the third line. So what do I add to 7 to get to 31? And that's going to be 24. But I need to add 12 and add 12 again, which is adding 24. Okay, so Groot and Spider-Man are both equal to 12. Then I need to look at Hulk and a pretty friendly looking Thor. Okay, they are equal, so that means 33 must be divided by 3, and that's going to be 11. So that's going to be 11 plus 11 plus 11. Okay, then your last line, the order of operations is really important. Okay, we need to do division first, so I'm just going to put a little border around there, a little pair of brackets around there. So that's what we need to do first. Okay, so division comes before any other operation. So we know that Groot is equal to 12. And we know that Thor is equal to 11. So that's the first thing we need to do. And then Hulk is 11 and Spider-Man is 12. Okay, and that's what we need to work out. So our order of operations, 12 over 11, I would encourage you to perhaps put this in a fraction form. So I'm going to have 12 over 11, then 11 over 1, and 12 over 1. Okay. Now I've shown you before that you can divide diagonally when we multiply fractions. You should recall that from when we did our lesson on multiplying fractions. So I can cancel out 11 and 11. Okay, so that leaves me with my numerators of 12 times 12, which is 144, and I'm just going to put that here so it doesn't get cut out. And in my denominators I have 1. That's turned into a 1 times 1, okay, that's going to give me 1, and we know that anything over 1 is equal to 144. Okay, so if you had gone and worked out 12 divided by 11 is 1 and 1/12, and maybe try to turn that into a decimal, it would have been a lot more trickier for you, and it might have taken you a little bit longer. So always remember that a division sum can be written as a fraction. And that is another option for you to explore when you're doing division questions. Okay, But well done if you managed to work through that one. That could have been, yeah, maybe the trickiest one that we've done this far. Okay, your mental maths questions are based on previous lessons. So go ahead and answer those 5 questions. For question number 4, I'd really encourage you to do that long division by using multiplication along with addition or subtraction. So give that some thought when you're doing number 4, and then press play after you've completed them and see how you guys have fared with those questions. So to convert a fraction to a decimal, I need the denominator to be 10, 100, or 1,000. Okay, that's my go-to option. I know that I can multiply 25 by 4. Whatever I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. So it's 44 over 100, and that is equal to 0,44. Okay, so just remember there are 2 zeros in the denominator. That means there are 2 numbers after the decimal place, okay, because it needs to be in the 100th column. Guys, so for number 2, I'm just going to write it out in the improper fraction from the beginning. So I know that 2 2/3 is 8 over 3. 1 3 over 5 is 8 over 5. And when I divide by a fraction, the division sign turns to multiply. And I know I use the reciprocal of the fraction after the division sign, so that becomes 4 over 1. Okay, now I should know that my multiplication comes first, so that gives me 8 over 3 plus 32 over 5. Okay, 8 times 4 is 32, and 5 times 1 is 5. Then the lowest common multiple of 8 and 3 is 15. So 3 goes into 15 5 times, so 8 times 5 is 40. 5 goes into 15 3 times, so 3 times 32 is 96. Okay, and that's going to give me 136 over 15. Okay, from there you can convert it into a mixed number. Okay. But yeah, unless they tell you to convert into a mixed number, sometimes you can leave it as 136 over 15 in its improper form. Just read the question carefully as to what you will be asked to do. Okay. Okay, your next question was to round off to the nearest hundredth. And remember, in a previous lesson, we spoke about rounding off decimals. We said that if you're rounding off to the nearest hundredth, then you need to look at the next place value column, which is the thousandth. So if I have 3,456 and I want to round off to the nearest hundredth, I must look at the thousandth column. Okay? If the thousandth column is 5 or more, then my hundredth gets rounded up. So that's going to be 3,46. And for the long division, I challenged you to do it using multiplication and or addition and subtraction. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to draw a table for you, and this is how I would have done it. Okay, so it's 25. Right, so what am I going to look for? I'm going to first say what's 25 multiplied by 10. Okay, I know that's 250. So for times 20 is going to be double that, so 500. And double that multiplied by 40 gives me 1,000. Okay? Now, if you have a look at that table and you have a look at 250 and 1,000, if you add those two numbers together, you're going to get 1,250. Okay, so that means that 1,250 divided by 25 is 50. Okay, So now if I go 25 back, so if I go one group of 25 back, then it's going to be 49, and 25 back from 1,250 is 1,225, and that equals 49. So I'm hoping you guys can recognize there that the closest multiple of 25 to 1,235 is 1,250. Okay, so 50 times 25 is 1,250. So if I go 25 back, one group of 25 back from 50 will be 49, and 1,250 minus that one group of 25 is 1,225. Okay, from there you should recognize that you have a remainder of 10. Okay, so your answer then is 49, remainder 10, which is 49 remainder 10 over 25. Okay, and there you can turn it into a decimal. You could simplify 10 over 25 to 2 over 5, which is 0.4 as a decimal, so 49,4. Okay, hopefully that method of working out a long division sum using multiplication and then subtracting makes a little bit more sense to you, but we'll keep practicing that as we move on. Okay, and then your last question was, if I turned 28 last week, assuming there are 52 weeks in a year, how old am I in weeks? Okay, and I'm pretty sure that you guys would have recognized that if I'm 28 and there's 52 weeks in a year, I'm doing that. I'm interested to, I wish I could find out how many of you did that in a column method and how long it took you. I'm just going to show you a doubling and halving method. So I halve that to 14 and I double that to 104. It's pretty straightforward. Halve that to 7 and I double that to 208. Again, pretty straightforward. I can then say 200 times 7 is 1,400. And then 7 times 8 is 56, so it's 1,456. Okay, so I didn't have to do any hectic calculations there, columns. I didn't have to carry any numbers or remember a placeholder. So I encourage you to use these strategies that we're teaching you to make your life a little bit easier when it comes to doing calculations. Okay, so that means that when I turned 28, I was 1,456 weeks old. Okay, so there are 1,456 weeks in 28 years. However, that was last week. Okay, so I still have to add that one additional week, and that will give you 1,457. Okay, so I'm wondering if a lot of you had worked out 1,456, but then hadn't read that that was last week, and then you needed to add the 1 week. So my message there is to make sure you read the question really, really carefully. Okay, so that's mental maths done for the day. Well done if you remembered all those past principles. If you didn't, go back and have a look at the previous lessons and make sure you understand the areas where you made mistakes. Okay, decimals. All right, so this is quite a quick part because you guys would have done it in grade 6, addition and subtraction of decimals. The key here is just to keep the same numbers of the same value in the same column. So if it's a unit, it must be in a unit. If it's a tenth, so the first number after the decimal must be in the 10th column, hundredths in the 100th column. The decimal always lines up. Okay, so the decimal is always in place, and then it's just a case of adding. Okay, so if I have a look at these examples, 2,45 plus 6,31, and if I take you back to the Google Jamboard, and we just have a look at those quickly. Okay, so 2,45 and 6,31. Okay, we will just add those normally. 5 plus 1 is 6, 4 plus 3 is 7. We keep the decimal in the same place. Okay, and that's what we're doing. Okay, so it's really, it's just like normal addition, except this time you've got a decimal in place. For the subtraction sum, again, it's just putting the right numbers in the right columns and working it out like a normal subtraction sum. Keep the decimal in the same place. You'll still have to borrow. Okay, and that's your 6,71. Okay, so guys, that's your addition and subtraction. There are 4 examples for you to sink your teeth into. Have a go. Make sure you realize when you're adding and subtracting, and then press play to see how you went. Have a look at how you guys went with that. So 8 and 5 for the top left-hand one. 8 and 5 is 13. Keep the decimal in the same place. Carry the 1. Okay, that's going to be 3 from the 13. Carry the 1. And that's 83,3. The one below that, let's put that in a different color for you. 5 and 7 is 12. We carry the 1. That's going to be 9. Decimal in the same place or in line. 6 and 9 gives you the 15. So 5, carry the 1. That's 6. And that's 2. Okay? And then when we look at the subtraction, again, it's the same as if you were subtracting normally. 7 minus 4 is 3, decimal in the same place. 9 minus 5 is 4, and 7 minus 2 is 5. And then below that, we need to borrow. Okay, we'll need to borrow again. Decimal in the same place, always. 4 minus 3 is 1. We'll need to borrow again. Okay, 841,76. So addition and subtraction, really straightforward and very similar to normal addition and subtraction, just the decimal ends up in the same place or lines up. Okay, multiplying decimals. All right, so for me personally, the easiest way to multiply decimals is to actually get rid of the decimal. Okay, now you can't just get rid of the decimal. You can't just take it out and throw it away. You've got to do something to the number to get rid of it. Okay, so in my example on the screen, it's got 4 times 1,2. I want to get rid of that decimal in 1,2, so I'll multiply 1,2 by 10. Okay, we know that when we multiply by 10, the number gets one place bigger. Okay, so now I'm going to have 4 multiplied by 12, straightforward, 48. But then I've just got to go do the opposite of what I did in the beginning. So in the beginning I multiplied by 10. So at the end I must divide by 10. And 48 divided by 10 is 4,8. Okay. So a little handy tip on the screen for you is however many numbers are after the decimal in the question. Okay. So there was one number here after the decimal. That was 2. That was after the decimal. That's how many numbers are after the decimal in the answer. And there's your 1 number after the decimal in the answer. Okay, so keeping this in mind, and you're more than welcome to go back and have a look at that explanation, but I'd like you to try out those 9 questions. You can rewind and have a look at how I explained it, and then let's have a look at how you went when you come back. So in question A, 0,3 times 7. I'm going to say 3 times 7 is 21 because I multiplied 0,3 by 10 to get to 3. So 3 times 7 is 21. Then I must say 21 divided by 10 because it's the opposite of what I did in the beginning. And that's going to be 2,1. All right, 0.5 times 3. I can say 5 times 3 is 15 because 0,5 times 10 is 5. And then I take that 15 and I divide it by 10 and get 1,5. And 0,8 times 9, 0,8 times 10 is 8, so 8 times 9 is 72. But then I must divide that by 10 because in the beginning I multiplied by 10 to get rid of the decimal, and now I'm putting it back. So that's 7,2 divided by 10, 72 divided by 10 is 7,2. Okay? So similarly in D, okay, so here we've got a multiple of 10. So I can say 0,7 times 10 is 7, and then that multiplied by the 5 is 35. Okay, so if I wrote that out for you, 0.7 times 10 equals 7, and then 7 times 5 is the 35, okay, and there is my 10 times 5 is 50, okay. So for 0.73 times 200, I'm going to write 0.73 times 100, that's 73, okay, and then the 73 times 2 equals 146, okay. So you can see that the very first thing I'm doing is I'm getting rid of the decimal just to make the calculation easier for myself, and then I'm putting it back in. So again, for the F, I would multiply by the 100 first to make the decimal 58, then 58 times 3, okay, is going to be 150 and 24, so 174, and then I need to, that's my answer. I don't have to do anything at the end. Okay, so if you have a multiple of 10, use it to get rid of the decimal, and then you just multiply its factor pair. Okay, so again, 100 times 3 is the 300. All right. Okay, so then in G, you've got two decimals. Okay, 6.08 multiplied by 0.2. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply the 6.08 by 100 to make it 608. Okay, I'm going to multiply the 0.2 by 10 to make it 2. So in total now, I've multiplied by 100 and I've multiplied by 10. So I've actually multiplied by 1,000 if I work out the whole thing. Okay, so I'll do 608 multiplied by 2. 600 times 2 is 1,200. 8 times 2 is 16, so 1,216. But then I must divide by that 1,000. Okay, so if I divide by 100 first, I get 12.16. Okay, and then if I divide further by that 10, I get 1.216, which is the same as dividing by 1,000. Okay, how many numbers were there after the decimal in the question? Was 0, 8, and 2. How many numbers are there after the decimal in the answer? 2, 1, 6. So it's 3 and 3, so we know we must be correct. Okay, for H, I've got 7.25 times 0.02, so 7.25 times 100 is 725, and 0.02 times 100 is 2. Okay, and now I'm just doubling really, and I think we'll all be comfortable with that, but I must recognize that I multiplied by 100 and another 100. Okay, so 100 multiplied by 100 is 10,000. That's 4 zeros. So my answer is 0.1450. Okay, so your 4 zeros would go 1, 2, 3, and to the fourth one. And it would give you that 0.1450. How many numbers are there after the decimal in the question? It's 0 and 3 from 0.03, so 2, and from 0.02 is another 2, so 4, and there are 4 numbers after the decimal in the answer, so it's a really handy tool to help you check your work. Okay, so that's the multiplication of decimals. The next one is the division of decimals. Okay, so it's always easier to divide decimals by whole numbers. Okay, and again, we can change the decimal numbers by multiplying by powers of 10 to make it easier. But it's really important that in division, we multiply both the dividend and the divisor by the same amount. Okay, so that's really, really a key. So on the left-hand side, you've got 4.28 divided by 4. Okay, and if I take you back to the Google Jamboard, and we have a look at 4.28 divided by 4. Let's get to a blank screen quickly. Okay, if I go 4,28 divided by 4, okay, I can do it. Sorry, there it is, 4,28 divided by 4. Short division, so I can do it this way. 4 goes into 4 once. 4 doesn't go into 2, goes into 28 7 times. All right, if you wanted to check that, 1,07 times 4. 1 times 4 equals 4. 0,7 times 4 is 0,28. Okay, so if you're dividing by a whole number, it's a lot easier. And then the other hand is we've got two decimal numbers being divided by each other. So here I would say to you, look, they're both decimals, so we should change both of them. So how are we going to change both of them? So if I just write out that question quickly, 0,0456 divided by 0,06. I'll take you back to the Google Jamboard. Okay, there it is there. I'm going to multiply this number by 10,000, okay, to get 456. That's one option. But then I must multiply this by 10,000, okay, and that's going to give me 600. Okay, that's still quite a tricky question, so I'm hoping you guys have recognized what I've done. And remember, in the previous example I said it's easier to divide by a whole number, so I'm just going to change the divisor into a whole number and I'll multiply that by 100, so that becomes 6. So if I multiplied the divisor by 100, I must multiply the dividend by 100. Okay, and if I multiply this by 100, it becomes 4,56. Okay, now I can go work that out like I did with the short division. Okay, 6 doesn't go into 4. 6 goes into 45 7 times with 3 left over. Okay, and then 6 into 36 goes 6 times. Okay, so my question to you here would be, how many decimals are there after the comma in the question? Over here, 2. How many decimals are after the comma in the answer? Is 2. Okay, so guys, I've got a couple of examples for you to practice here. Okay, there's 6 of them. I'd encourage you to go ahead and do them by yourself. Again, rewind and have a look at what we've spoken about, and then press play to see how you guys have done. Let's have a look at how you did with these. So 3,6 divided by 4. Okay, we don't really need to change anything because we are dividing by a whole number. So we can do 3,6 in a short divided by 4 in a short division format. And that's going to be your answer. And if you want to check 0,9 times 4, go 9 times 4 is 36, divide by 10 gives you your 3.6, so you know that you're correct. Again, we are dividing by a whole number, so no need to change anything. 5 goes into 1 0 times, then into 17 3 times. Keep the comma in the same place. There's 2 that goes there, and comma 5. And if I check 3,5 times 5, I can say 3 times 5 is 15. A half times 5 is 2.5. 15 and 2.5 add together to give you 17.5. So all good there. And C, again, 9 doesn't go into 1. A 9 goes into 16 once. Okay. There's going to be 7 left over, so that becomes 72. Decimal in the same place, and 9 goes into 72 8 times. So 1,8 times 9, I can say 1 times 9 is 9, 0,8 times 9 is 7,2, and add them together. Or I can say 18 times 9 is 90, add 72 is 162, and then divide by 10, and I still get 16,2. So either way you want to do it, those are your choices. Okay, and then we're just going to have a look at the 3 at the bottom where there's decimals in both the dividend and the divisor. Okay, so your first one is 1,58 divided by 0,4. So I'm going to take I'm going to take 0,4 and times it by 10. So that becomes 4. So I must do the same to 1,58. So it becomes 15,8 divided by 4. And now I'm dividing by a whole number. I can do this format. That goes 3 times with 3 left over. Okay, 4 times 3 is 12. 4 goes into 38. 8 times 4 times 8 is 32. Okay, and now we're left with 6. Okay, and when I'm left with 6 and I need to carry on, that becomes 60. 4 goes into 60 15 times. So my answer is 3,815. Okay, so there's something there for you. If you have left over and you don't have another number, then you need to put a 0 in place and use that as a placeholder. So for example, there the 6 became 60, so I could continue the division sum and end off. Okay, let's see if that happens again. For E over here, I'm going to say 0,05 times 100 to get it to 5, so I'm dividing by a whole number. So 0,8125 by 100 is 81,25. Okay, divide that by 5 now. Okay, 5 goes into 8 once, and there's 3 left over. 5 is into 31 6 times, decimal in the same place with 1 left over. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 goes into 12 twice with 2 left over, and 5 goes into 25 5 times. So 16,25. And then if you did the inverse multiplication, 16,25 times 5, you're going to get 81,25. So 10 times 5, 50. 6 times 5, 30. At those there, you get 80. And then 0.25 of 5. So a quarter of 5 is 1,25. And there you've got your 81,25. Okay. Cool. So your last one, F. We'll do over here 5,3682, quite a long decimal, divided by 0,006. So I'm going to multiply by 1,000. If I multiply 5,3862 by 1,000, I'm going to get 5,368,2. Then I divide that by 6. Now I've got whole numbers. Okay. So then we just do the same process. It's just a little bit longer because the number's longer. 6 doesn't go into 5. You can put a 0 there, put a dot there. You can leave it open, whatever you feel comfortable with. 6 goes into 53 8 times. 8 times 6 is 48, so we're left with 5. 6 goes into 56 9 times. 9 times 6 is 54, left with 2. 6 goes into 28 4 times. 4 times 6 is 24. So we're left with 4, and then 6 goes into 42 7 times. So I'll just highlight your answer there. 894,7. Okay, so practice those again. Have a look at your online activities with the memo that I posted for you today as well. So there's just a little bit of additional practice there for you to do. But yeah, make sure you understand these principles. Dividing and multiplying decimals can be tricky if you don't understand what to do, but hopefully once you've had a look at this lesson a couple times, or just this snippet of the lesson, it will make more sense to you. But I really encourage you guys to practice it so that you become comfortable and confident in doing these questions. Okay, there's your finisher for today. I'll give you a couple of seconds to finish it off, and then we'll check how you did. How you got on. I filled in the values already. So first I'm going to say 10 times 9 is 90. Okay. Where am I going to go to next? How did I get this? 54. 6 times 9 is 54. Okay. So then I know 6 times 3 gives me 18. Okay, 10 times 3 gives me 30. Okay, 10 multiplied by 15 gives me this one, 50. 6 multiplied by 15 gives me 90. Okay, 15 multiplied by 3 gives me this 45. Okay, and then it's just 15 times 9 is 135. And 15 times 15 is 225. Okay, so well done if you managed to figure that out. Hopefully you're challenging someone at home and getting someone to wash the dishes or cut the grass or clean the house. Okay guys, there's your 24 challenge for today. Use the numbers on the cards to make the number 24. You can use all the operations. You can use 1, you can use 2, you can use 3. Combination is up to you. Remember your order of operations and see how many different ways you can get the answer of 24. Right, grade 7s, thanks very much for watching today. I hope you have a great Monday and we'll catch up with you tomorrow. Keep safe and all the best. Cheers.